SCP SL's 14.1 update has been released to the public beta recently and is bringing a lot of new cool features to the game. And I mean really cool features. From the completely revoked voice chat to new cool effects and even hidden rooms. In this video I'll talk about everything important that's been added in the 14.1 update, including some things I missed when it originally came out. Anyways, let's not waste any time and get right into it. Before we go over all of the new stuff, let's talk about the already existing features, more specifically the balance changes of SCP-1344. Since the day these were released, they instantly became one of the best items in the game due to the fact they are literal wall hacks with zero downside. But the reign of terror is now finally over since they've been nerfed a lot. Now the orbs of people won't be visible 24/7 but will instead flash every few seconds. This was done to reduce their effectiveness in combat but still keep the original purpose of them. However, now everybody who's within the range of these goggles will be alerted. Before, you would only be alerted if you were directly in their vision, but how do you get alerted? Well, usually you would hear a spiderish sound which many people didn't even know what it meant. But now not only do you hear that sound, but you also gain an effect on your screen that will stay there for the whole duration you're in SCP-1344's range. Which basically means that while someone with SCP-1344 knows where you are, you will also be able to kind of predict where they are as well. Now you can also no longer see 106 with the goggles whilst he's underground, which is honestly a good change since he was bullied every time somebody had them. However, SCP-1344 is not the only SCP to get hit by a massive nerf. SCP-127 has received major changes as well. Now his human shield at tier 2 and tier 3 have been basically cut in half, but the shield now won't instantly despawn after you put the gun away and will instead stick around for 3 seconds. However, the shield nerf is the least of the gun's worries as his fire rate has been decimated. He is still by far the fastest firing gun in the game, but just now isn't OP as he used to be. The next really important changes are not balanced ones but instead visual ones. The MTF's goggles now have a badass glow that shows up in the dark, but to keep it fair, only their teammates can see it. This glow will however fade away when they die. But nobody cares about any of that. The most devastating part of this update is how they age 99. I was looking at her new teeth which now glow red and can be seen in the dark for some reason, but the difference in her backside compared to before the beta is massive. Now personally I don't give a shit about this change, but just sad to see how they turned a supermodel into some retarded World War II survivor looking ass. But anyways, remember the server room? Well, they brought it back in a brand new shape and form. This is the new storage room which will probably fuck you over a lot. Why? Well, if you're being chased and walk into it from this side, the only way to proceed is to use the shortest elevator in the facility, which if it isn't there when you're running, you are cooked. However, if you're coming from this side, then you can proceed without any problems. This room also has a lot of juking and ambush potential, but I'll let you explore that for yourself. Speaking of rooms, and cool Easter egg I missed in my previous video is these rooms right here. These can be found right above SCP-127's chamber and they contain the flamingos and this fucking bastard. The next change is small but will impact the gameplay a lot, and that's that you can now find loot spawn all throughout heavy containment. It's most commonly found on random boxes and shelves, and the items that spawn are mostly the ones that can be found near their in lockers, like for example medical supplies and low level keycards. But you can also find armor and weapons. This is a really nice change as it gives the zone more life instead of everything just being focused on the SCP's rooms and armories. The doors of the nuke elevator have slightly been changed to make jumping over them much easier. Alright, and I also added forklifts around the facility because why not? The bulkheads now have a button on the wall you can use, and these cool RTX fans also have new ambient sounds. Also, the entire voice and audio system got a massive rework thanks to the game moving to Unity 6. One of the biggest changes is how reverb works. Global chats like Spectator, SCP chat or the pre-game lobby are now totally clean, while proximity chat adds more reverb the farther away somebody is. And if you don't know what reverb is, it's basically an echo-like filter that makes everything sound much funnier and more immersive.
Bro, these MTF, I'm gonna fucking kill.
Also, the 079 sulking now comes from the speakers near you instead of just magically appearing in the room. I think that's all there is when it comes to visual, audio and balance changes. So now let's go over the important things that were changed about the respawn and spectator system. I'm sure by now we all know what mini-waves are, but as of 14.1, every time a spawn wave doesn't achieve the requirements for a mini-wave of the opposing team will spawn. Trust me, this makes the game 2 times more chaotic because people are basically spawning 24/7. Not to mention, this also gives teams a chance to come back from the dead if they run out of tickets beforehand. Additionally, now when a team is about to spawn, its meter will glow to indicate that. There's also been changes in the influence system, which by the way is the thing that decides who spawns. Killing militians now gives double the rewards, and now you also gain 5 bonus influence points for killing SCPs with experimental weapons. Actively armed civilians now count as militians. There's been a few other minor changes with this system, but I can't bother yapping about that since it's not really important. However, I've linked the patch logs in a pinned comment if you wanna check it out for yourself. Now let's go over all miscellaneous changes which are not as significant but are really good to know. Starting off that now when you're spectating somebody enemy and they die, you automatically switch to the next alive person instead of just sitting in the dark for eternity. I honestly like the sitting in the dark option since the chaos of the game does start to clip my ears after a while, so if you don't like this change you can toggle this in the settings. Speaking of settings, they reworked the operational guide to include these cool green screens and have also added it into in-game settings, meaning that now if you're a new player or want to adjust your SCP spawn preferences, you can now do that without having to leave the server. They've also now added a setting which allows you to disable 99's vision blur, which is honestly a must do if you want to make your life as 99 much easier. Like, just look at how much clearer this is. The dummies have also been given a massive upgrade. In case you don't know what these are, they are basically NPCs that you can spawn and control. Before you could only give them basic commands, but now you can literally control every single part of them, from their rotation to equipping and shooting weapons. If you're just a regular player, then this is probably relevant for you, but if you like messing around in a private server, or if you're a plugin developer, you can do quite a lot with these. Anyways, this will be it for this changelogs video. If you're wondering why I didn't mention a lot of stuff, that's probably because I talked about it in this one, so yeah. Make sure to give it a look if you haven't. Also, make sure to subscribe to not miss out on any other important SCP SL information, guides or crazy challenges. Thank you a lot for watching and have a great day.